to welcome everybody for coming out on this beautiful morning. My name is Tim Arnson. I'm the CEO of the Port of Kennewick. And as we progress through, we'll try to keep it crisp and try to keep things moving. But whenever I tend to speak, Tana on my staff prepares me notes, and I try to study those notes, and I end up keeping somewhat close to the course that she wants me to be on, but I ad-lib a little bit. So I will try to keep it moving, but just kind of deviate a little bit. And I want to start right now with telling you how happy I am to see all the smiling faces in the crowd today. This is amazing to get a turnout such as this for our project. And this isn't just a Port of Kennewick event. This is a joint project with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. And you'll probably hear from Port Commissioner Novakovich about how happy he is with the relationship that we've built with the tribes over probably the last decade. But my own words are, I really think that this is an amazing thing. We have friends, we have partners, and as they say in life, no matter what you do, you can't do it by yourself. And as the Port of Kennewick has been working to try to improve Clover Island, the shoreline, this part of town, for people, for wildlife, we can't do it without the tribes. And I'm so pleased today that they're here. They will be a big part of this. And it's easy to say what I've just said, but the meaning comes from deep inside. And this is a beautiful friendship. I don't even like to call it a partnership anymore. It's a friendship. And again, this is a joint event, and these are just my words of how happy I am that this is a different kind of event where the port and the Confederated Tribes as friends get to roll out a project to our community. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce Skip Novakovich. He is the president of the Port Commission. But before I do, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping. One of my staff members, Candy, has got some little toolkits that she will be giving out to the speakers as you finish speaking. So Candy is right over here, and it's just a small token of our appreciation, a toolkit. Maybe it's symbolic of the things that we have built out here. So that's just a housekeeping matter. And I'll now bring it over to Commissioner Novakovich. Again, I said he's the president of the Port Commission. He's also a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. He's a board member of the Cultural Institute, and I'm going to butcher this, so I'll try to say this one time, but when I refer to it, I'll say Cultural Institute, because as much as I've tried, it's hard for me to pronounce Tamastslikt. So I don't know if I got even close. But okay, Bobby's giving me a thumbs up. Thank you, Bobby. I know you're being kind of generous to us. But Skip is a board member of the Cultural Institute and the president of the Port Commission. So I'll turn it over to Skip Novakovich.
So just as Tim said, I could reiterate everything he said, but he's pretty much summarized how important this partnership is. And for me in particular, because I've had a real interest in the Native Americans, the CTUIR, and the Nez Perce, and for a long, long time. And it's a real honor for me to be here today and talk about the gathering place. I asked Armin if this would be okay, and he said it would. But, you have to think back about our forefathers. This place is called the Gathering Place. And we're gathered here today with our friends from the CTUIR. But our forefathers would never have gathered like this. There would have been a lot deeper issues. So for time to go by and we're coming to a place where we can gather together, celebrate together is, in my heart, it's a really big deal. So I appreciate our friends, the partnership we have. And with that, I'd like to recognize my two fellow commissioners, Vice President of the Board, Tom Oak, and our Board Secretary, Don Barnes. Partnerships are not just with other entities, but the partnership we have at the Port of Kennewick between our commissioners and our staff is just absolutely amazing. So also I'd like to recognize the CTUIR Board of Trustees members that are here. Jeremy Wolf, Vice Chairman of the Board. Pat Gringham, Board Secretary, and my good friend Armin Minthorn, the board member. Right now I'd like to ask Armin and Jeremy if you'd come up here and join me, please. And while they're coming up here, just a little bit of history, but way back in 2008, when the port first began thinking about making improvements on Clover Island, the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation wrote a letter to the Port Commission supporting our efforts. And with that letter, permitting processes went through very, very quickly and very, very easily. So we owe these people an awful lot for the improvements that are here. It's not just the Port of Kennewick. You know, as Tim said, it's a lot of partners, but these partners right here made it a lot easier for us to go forward with these. Their natural resource staff assisted us with planning and design work. Their tribal members provided cultural resources for monitoring island construction projects. They've long set an example of environmental stewardship, and it was their support and assistance with this early project that helped the port and their board of trustees build our relationship to the point that we're gathered here today. The gathering place on the island, we've made a lot of more improvements. We've gone a long ways. But what this does is celebrate the tribe's historic ties to this part of the Columbia River. And you'll hear about that a little bit more from them and also from Tim a little bit later on and all our other speakers about what this all means. This project had the tribe members intricately involved, from providing buckskin dresses and photos for the bronze work that's behind us, to even sending people to model for our artist. Rodd, where are you? Rodd Ambroson is right there. He's our artist that constructed the artwork that's behind us that we'll look at in a minute. The tribal members were involved in researching and preparing text and graphics for the panels that are there. They've been passionate and engaged and exciting in the details that went into creating this place, and even in naming it the Gathering Place, which has a huge significance if you look back in history. Today we're really honored, and it's with my sincere pleasure that I'd like to introduce Vice Chair Jeremy Wolf, who'll be making some comments, but right before he does that, Armin Minthorn will give us an invocation. I just ask that during any songs or prayers that no cameras, no pictures, no videos be taken. Please do that out of respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip. Shoskupa. My name is CTUIR, Jeremy Red Star Wolf. My ancestry comes from Chief Wolf, who is Palouse, Chief Willamupkin, who is Cayuse, and we have lots of family who have joined us here today, and lots of friends. The Clover Island area, Onwash, is a Sahaptin place name meaning sun's place. This is in the aboriginal lands of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Through our Treaty of 1855, we retain rights to hunt, fish, and gather. And it's something that's very humbling for me to be a part of and in the leadership to help protect that. But I also remember that just practicing it, out there doing it, dancing and singing. Appreciate Elder Armin's words, song he sung. Just grateful to be a part of the process and be a part of helping. In 2010, Tamastslikt, my Aunt Bobby Connor, was approached by the Port of Kennewick Arts Liaison to discuss designing art for Clover Island that would honor the tribes, the Cayuse, Umatilla, Walla Walla, and other bands. 2013, we had a meeting and developed an MOU with the Port of Kennewick, something that we're here and being invited and grateful to be here, but also honor that MOU. The art itself honors our ancestors in Chichima through the elder lady, our future through the young man, Nuswan, and the highly utilized plants that shelter and protect us, the Tules, Tutku. And of course, water, the giver of life. Kat was joking. She said that there was no fish in there, though. Yeah. We could put some smolts in there, but we're going to have to get a little cooler. I traveled pretty far this morning. I was tasked to go and meet with the IBMP, which is the Interagency Bison Management Plan Partnership, over in Bozeman, Montana. Speaking of the 1855 treaty and the retained rights, that talks of going to buffalo and hunting buffalo all the way over in Montana country, other side of the Rockies. We have a vast area that we must protect. And right here is where many of our people came home to. The Walla Wallas and Umatillas, Cayuse, Nez Perce, some of the Yakima bands. This was a vibrant hub, trading center, and wintering lands. So going over there and traveling back this morning from Missoula, seeing the fires, seeing all the resources, and thinking of that travel. And even though it's a long ways, it was a short journey in my GSA rig. But imagining what that would take to walk there or to go on horseback. My son one day asked me, Mumnisha, he asked me about trying to figure out how long it took to get places, back in the day, back in the day when we just had horses or we just walked, and how troublesome that would have been, and how much easier it is nowadays to get on a road and get in a car and take off, get there. But that reminded me of that because as we traveled on horseback or by foot, and as I walked with my son and my daughter, it's like, but we couldn't notice these things. Couldn't notice these plants, couldn't notice the animals, couldn't talk to them, they couldn't talk to us. You go flying by in a car, can't hear nothing but the wind. So it's good to come to the gathering place. It's good to come here today and sit with friends, family, leaderships that we work with, whether they be far, whether they be right here. We have a lot to work towards, but I'm very appreciative of the work it's taken in not only developing this project, but in actually doing it. And the artists who took the renderings and took it seriously, including all the planners, to do it right. So I really appreciate that. It shows. I got here a little bit early and was able to walk around and read it all and take it all in and felt very proud and appreciative. So with that, I'd just like to have everybody give a round of applause for all those who have participated in this event. Port of Kennewick, sorry. It's another project I'm working on. and all of the staff of the CTUIR who have taken the time to do this right. Thank you.
Well, I think this is where you get me again. I just want to thank Jeremy for his kind words. I want to thank Armand for the invocation. That was amazing. Kat, thank you for being here. At this point, I would like to recognize the elected officials that we have here today from our community and other honored guests. This is always a tough time for me because I ask my staff to go out there and spot all of the electeds, and she comes up with 2 names. Well, actually 3. She wrote down Port of Benton Commissioner Roy Keck twice, so Roy. But you always end up missing somebody, and then that becomes that faux pas that you're like, okay, how serious was that? So I'm hoping that we don't miss anybody. If we do, please help me out and let me know who you are. First of all, I got to start with our port commissioners, Skip Novakovich, Don Barnes, Tom Moak up in the front row. In my life, since I work for them, I would have to say they're the most important elected officials here today.
His job depends on saying that.
Right, right. And I think we have a former port commissioner here, Gene Wagner. Gene is in the second row. And then we have, let me just say it again, Port of Benton Commissioner Roy Keck. So now, Roy, that's 3 times we've mentioned you. We have City Council member Matt Banky. Where's Matt? He's in the back. Matt's one of the good guys. Are there other electeds that I have inadvertently missed? I don't see any hands. So, okay, well, that's good. And I want to thank you all for, the electeds for coming here and helping us out on the things that we ask from you throughout the year. At this point, I'd like to introduce another distinguished guest. We have Commander Damon de la Rosa with the United States Army Corps of Engineers out of the Walla Walla branch, and he's another good one here. He's been very helpful to us, not only with what we're doing here today, but we have a larger project that we're going to work on the shoreline with, and the commander has been extremely helpful with that. So, Commander, would you come up and say a few words, please?
Good morning. First of all, thanks for having me out here today. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Damon de la Rosa. I am the commander of the Walla Walla District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So again, I'm very pleased, very thankful that I was invited to come out here and be able to take part in this ceremony today. It's great. What a great place. So the Walla Walla District, has been charged with a diverse mission here in the Mid-Columbia Basin. Fish and wildlife conservation, protection of cultural resources, and ecosystem restoration, as well as supporting economic development through the flood risk reduction, hydropower generation, and navigation improvements. But it would be impossible for us to accomplish our responsibilities without the relationships that we have fostered with our stakeholders across the region. We truly value those relationships that we have made with both the Port of Kennewick and with the CTUIR. For example, we're currently working with the port on the north shoreline, Section 1135 habitat restoration and recreation improvements here on Clover Island. The CTUIR has been a key partner in protecting our cultural resources. Their leadership was instrumental in the recent repatriation of Kennewick Man. They are also a leader in the region when it comes to the salmon and lamprey recovery and making them a key ally of the Corps of Engineers. So I'd like to congratulate the Port of Kennewick and the CTUIR on their work to establish a mutually beneficial relationship. The improvements we see here today will share the tribe's story with the greater Tri-Cities region and visitors to the community and aid in the understanding of the CTUIR in this region. So it is important for partnerships to enable progress. And this project being completed makes Clover Island more attractive to the future economic development and will encourage more people to visit the island and learn about the tribe's history and the port's investment. So you are truly transforming the island into a destination. So congratulations to everybody involved. Thank you for having me out here. And what a wonderful day for it all. So.
Thank you, Commander. Appreciate your kind words. I would now like to welcome Raquel Crowley. She is from Senator Murray's office, and Raquel also has been helpful to us. This isn't the first time we've seen her. She's made herself known to us out here, asked on numerous occasions how her and the Senator could be helpful. And Raquel, I believe, has a letter from the Senator that she'd like to share with us today. Raquel?
The letter is to the port, and it's all to the friends here. So on behalf of Senator Murray, I am very proud and pleased to represent her today at this momentous event. So the letter states, "Dear friends, I would like to extend my warmest greetings as you gather for the Clover Island Wiyakukpa, the Gathering Place celebration. Although I'm unable to attend the festivities, I want you to know that I am truly here with you in spirit. Today marks another milestone in a decade-long collaboration between the Confederate Tribes of Umatilla Reservation and the Port of Kennewick. Together you have worked to restore the natural and cultural resources on Clover Island and its shoreline. Completing the South Shoreline enhancements is another step in preserving and protecting the traditions of tribal members and their ancestors, revitalizing the historic waterfront for the citizens of Kennewick, and supporting the economic development. I am proud to be your partner in Washington, D.C. as you continue your work that does so much for Kennewick, the Tri-Cities, and beyond. Congratulations again on today's achievement. Sincerely, United States Senator Patty Murray."
Thank you, Raquel. Appreciate your comments on behalf of the Senator. Now, I'd like to take just a moment to introduce the Port of Kennewick staff and also the design team and contractors that physically built the thing. So, first of all, my port staff, they are in blue shirts. Could you guys kind of wave your arms in the air? I've got the greatest team in the world. It's a team effort. I sometimes am reluctant to single people out. It is a team effort. But I have to single out Tana because she did my notes here. And I want to continue to make sure that she did the notes correctly. But Tana Bader and Glima has done what you see here today. And it has been pretty frantic for her the last couple of weeks. I've tried to stay out of her way as she is just very meticulously bringing this thing together. So I really appreciate Tana's work. My planner, Larry Peterson, kind of worked with the design team to get this thing the way it is. So again, I say I appreciate all of my staff members, but those two in particular had a little bit extra oomph on this project. I'd also like to mention John Fedorov. John is here somewhere today. John was the engineer on this project. Yep, John's in the back. And we told John as we got down in the last week and this thing still needed to come together, we told John that he was going to be invited whether it was finished or not. Just the reception from the crowd would be the only thing that might change. So John, thank you for pushing this thing through. We have Marty Zellner, who did the landscaping. Marty's from Seattle. I don't think he's with us today, but Marty has done a lot of the landscaping out here. And then I want to mention a big part of the team, Dwayne Howard. Dwayne, where are you? Okay, now look at Dwayne. That's why I tell you he's a big part of the team. And Dwayne, really, the last week you cracked the whip on the people and got him out here, so I really appreciate how he pushed the thing through. So thank you, Dwayne. And he's done a lot of work for the port. You know, he gets all the work through the bid. He saves the taxpayers money by low bidding things, but he's a very quality contractor, and we've done a lot of projects with him. So thanks, Dwayne. And then I also have to mention Barb Carter. She's our art liaison. You'll hear a little bit more from Barb later, but she does a lot of things here just besides art. So please congratulate my team for the help that they've brought on this project. Now here's a couple things that I would like to say, and I know you're thinking, gosh, looking at your watches. Some of what I will say has already been said, so I will try not to repeat it. But, you know, our friendship with the tribes goes back a decade or so. Who knows? We really haven't figured out the exact day that we kind of did that first handshake, and I don't know that it really matters. It is a friendship that, you know, if we wanted to find out on a calendar, it probably has a beginning, but it is going to be a friendship that has no end. We're going to go forward, and generations from now, they might be scratching their heads and saying, you know, who did what? But it has a beginning, and it's going to continue out. Just a few of the highlights. 2008, we went down and joined the tribes for the Salmon Walk, their first foods festival. When we contemplated any of our improvements on the island, we would always talk staff to staff with the tribes to consult and get ideas early on. And, you know, a good project has to start and flourish over time. And if it's not a good project, that needs to be the first topic of discussion. And one of the things I appreciate with the tribes is that they can help us, and if it's a good project, there's a lot of push to get the thing over the finish line. One of the things that we occasionally ask for from our friends at the reservation is we ask for letters of support, because there's a lot of agencies that are very concerned with the river shore. You have local, you have state, you have federal, and we've asked our friends to help us with letters of support. And I remember Anton Minthorn in 2008 wrote us a letter, and Chairman at the time Les Minthorn 2012 wrote us a letter, and just last year current Chairman Gary Burke wrote us a letter. And, you know, getting through the process, it really helps to show that you are united with your friends and partners, that it is really a good community project. So we wouldn't have been doing anything out here on the island without the advice and support from our friends at the Confederated Tribes. So I want to thank all the current, you know, the past chairman and the current chairman for their support. It's been just an amazing thing. So thank you. And not to belabor it too much, but yes, we do have a memorandum of understanding with the tribes that was signed in 2013, and it talks about how we interact with each other. But the document also encourages a lot of face-to-face contact, and I think that's the heart and the spirit of the document. What you put down on paper sometimes is only meant to memorialize what you feel and how you work through. So we don't pull out the agreement to look at it too much, because we're a phone call away or a short trip down to visit our friends. We have a joint meeting today with the board, and we've been doing that annually for quite some time. So it's, like I say, there's a really interesting relationship here that we have and will continue to maintain with the tribes. Now I'd like to turn briefly to the artwork, the storyboards that is the gathering place. And I heard Raquel mention that it was 2010, and I wish you wouldn't have said that, because it reminds me it's been, what, 7 years to get this thing done. And when we started in, I thought we could get it done in a year. So, wow. But you know what? Good things take some time. For this project, as was mentioned earlier, the Board of Trustees asked, Port, would you please work with Bobby Connor and her staff at the Cultural Institute. Remember I said I wasn't going to try to pronounce the first part of it, to develop the artwork. And that was kind of a really neat offshoot. There was a lot of work going on there, staff to staff. I'm glad that we took the time to work it through and get it historically correct. Working with the artist, Rodd Ambroson, we got it correct. And I want to thank Bobby and Melissa Minthorn for all of their efforts. There's just so much that they did that I can't even mention today, but I would like to thank that group for working on this particular project. And now I'm going to turn it over to Barb Carter for a few words. Barb, as I mentioned, she's the Port's art liaison. She worked with the Kennewick Arts Commission to bring this idea to them, to get some buy-in from the Kennewick Arts Commission. She worked with the Cultural Institute, many trips down there, and I can't begin to tell you how much that we appreciate Barb and her work with the tribes and the Arts Commission. So, Barb, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, and all of the words that I was going to say have been said much better by everybody who came before me. But it's such an honor for me to be able to be here today to recognize this wonderful artwork, an incredible gift that the Port Commission and the tribes are donating and sharing with this community. The story the artwork tells is the culture of the people who came here before us and how they used the gifts from the river and the surrounding lands to benefit their lives. This shoreline improvement project does just that, and it's one more step in the Port's goal of connecting the river to the downtown and transforming the island into a true waterfront destination. Now, those of you who have known me over the years, you've heard me go on and on and on about the value of the arts. I admit it, I'm a believer, but many people still think that beyond the beauty of the artwork, public art is a luxury, a fluff. I'm here to tell you that art has power. The power to change a community, to elevate it beyond a place where you live, go to work, and exist in the hope that something better is going to come along someday. Art can transform a nondescript space into a special one that attracts visitors and locals alike to share the experience and enjoy the artwork. It can take your breath away, make you smile, make you wonder, and make you dream. The Port's investment in the public art improvements have already shown a great financial dividend and exciting results. People of all ages and interests come here to walk the boardwalk, pose with the artwork, and some even get married at the lighthouse. We have Jean to thank for the lighthouse. Thank you, Jean. People of existing businesses have taken advantage of the increase in visitors and have made private investments needed to update their facilities and hire more staff. An aha moment for most of them had to be when they realized that visitors coming to enjoy the artwork and ambiance of the riverfront actually stayed to eat and drink and hang out. More artwork, more visitors, more business, more jobs. But art has a value that can be measured beyond dollars. It can be fun, educational, beautiful, inspiring, and certainly controversial. But one of the highest values is its ability to create memories. Nearly every time I drive onto the island, I see families walking around, reading the signage, taking in the artwork, posing alongside it, or in it, or on it, and having a really good time with their families. How many senior pictures have you seen with the graduate posing inside next to the call of the river or inside the circle of Mother of Reinvention? And everyone has at least one photo op at the lighthouse. So this island is special to all who've come here in the past, are here today, and who will visit in the future. It's long been and will continue to have a sense of place, a true gathering place. When I first became involved in this particular project, I met with Bobby Connor at Tamastslikt. Is that okay, Tamastslikt? And with Bobby and members of the tribes. She was very open and patient as she shared their history and mission with me, and we developed the concept for the artwork. The Port arranged for a gifted artist to do the work, and Bobby led her staff in providing the historical and cultural expertise to create the tribal figures we have in the exchange. There are quite a few people who helped with that, but I would like to call out Melissa Minthorn-Winks. She's the only staff member I think that's here today, but she and I worked pretty closely together the last few years of the project. Her creativity, her honesty, and coordination of all those ugly nitty-gritty details that we all have to address kept us on course. And besides that, she was a lot of fun. But none of this that we celebrate today would have happened without the vision of Bobby Connor. Her love and knowledge of her heritage was very evident to us all. She was determined to represent this island area, Onwash, with a picture of a portion of life practiced here, unchanged, for hundreds of years. It's my pleasure now to introduce Bobby Connor.
Kaitsiao, Barb. Thank you. It's my pleasure today to tell you just very quickly, because I know you're warm, that our job at Tamastslikt Cultural Institute is to help break down stereotypes and to inform the public with a more accurate depiction of our tribal culture and history, more accurate than you can get anywhere else. And so with those objectives in mind, we met with the Port of Kennewick and Barb in the original overture. And one of the amazing things that is true of our most recent economic development on the reservation is that people see that we have a casino or read that we have a casino and assume that all of our needs are taken care of and that we're cash rich. And that ain't true. Without a tax base, the casino is our tax base. And it provides essential services to our community, Indian and non-Indian. And when Barb came to meet with me, the classic question that I always ask, and if I don't, Melissa asks, is, do you have a budget for this multi-year extravagant project? And Barb said yes. And thanks to the commissioners of the Port of Kennewick and the foresight to plan for the overture to the tribes, she came armed with an idea of a timeline. She came armed with a budget, and she said, this is what we want to do. And from there, it became a process that has been changed many times. And I have to congratulate both Barb and the commissioners on the fact that where we ended up with the installation you see here is a dramatic improvement over where we started. We did not block the landscape with structures that you cannot see past. We did an honest representation of the tribe's language and culture in a very short space of time and in a very efficient set of texts. And most importantly, we paid heed to the culture that honors our ancestors and honors our future. And I think we've done surprisingly well at achieving those objectives. We are often accused of being stuck in the past. And that's another stereotype because we cling to our ancient teachings. But those ancient teachings have sustained us for more than 15,000 years in this landscape. So there must be some value there. And the technologies of those ancient teachings are very much alive today, and they are part of our modern lives, as Jeremy alluded to, and they are part of our future. And gathering tules, as hot and sweaty a task as it is, as muddy and dirty a task as it can be, is a very, very prominent part of our history. And when the tules are fully grown, you'll get a better chance of seeing what that means. The future of our people is bright. We believe that what happened on April 27th or April 28th of 1806, when Lewis and Clark were at a place that's now referred to as Yalept Station, on the north bank of the Columbia River, where Yalept bribed Lewis and Clark to spend one more night so that the people might gather and bid them farewell collectively. That night, in April of 1806, 350 to 550 tribesmen from Chumnapum, from the Yakima River, from Walulapum, from the Walla Walla River, and from all around that area gathered at what is now Yalept Station, and a prophecy was announced by a medicine man that said, if our people survive the difficult times ahead, because that was part of the prophecy, if we survived, we would become strong once again. And we believe that now is the time that we're fulfilling that prophecy. So it's important to recognize the young man in this sculpture represents the future, a young man who is rooted in the past, prepared for the future, and committed to a culture that has sustained not only its people, but this land by our practices and our teachings. With that, I invite my colleague and dear friend Melissa Minthorn-Winks to come up and help me as we pay a little tribute to Rodd, who is up next, and Barb, our partners in crime for these past few years. We have a small token of our appreciation for your patience with us. Most of you would have no patience for the amount of time we spent wrestling in conversation with Rodd about what fringes should look like on a dress that's been worn. But believe me, we have had those conversations ad nauseum. You're welcome. Thank you, Rob. We look forward to future projects with the Port of Kennewick. We hope that the installation serves the purposes we identified well, and we look forward to a continued friendship with not only Rodd and Barb, but with the Port of Kennewick commissioners. Thank you, Skip, and your colleagues.
Okay, now I am speechless. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this honor. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the artist who created the bronze sculptures that I'm sure you will all enjoy. Be sure to check out his artist statement as well, the plaque that's embedded into one of the boulders on the site. Rodd Ambroson.
So I'm really good with words. I'm better with my hands. There's so many thanks, because this has been a bit of a project, and I would surely be so thankful for the board for choosing me as an artist that could represent a statement. And working with Bobby and Melissa and Marjorie, it's just been, meant a lot to me. And my studio is in Joseph, Oregon, so I kind of feel like I'm a bit of an interloper. And what this project has allowed me is to have just a brief, humble glimpse into another culture. And I'm just so thankful for that. It's been definitely one of my most meaningful pieces of work. I think the work hopefully will speak for itself. It's that interchange that is forever, and in my own, I'm about as Norwegian as a person can be, and so, but there's still that. I remember my grandmothers, that there's such a bond. I got up really early this morning and drove over from Joseph, and for about 3.5 hours I was thinking about things I was going to say, and by golly, they all went away. I didn't write them down. I'm very humbled. I'm very appreciative, and just very thankful for the opportunity to create these sculptures. And again, with my relationship with the port, there's another sculpture I did here. It's just a warm, wonderful, all the port people that have been, they're patient with me, and it has been a long project, but I think the end result was wonderful. And I'm going to wear these fringes. I'm going to wear them out. I'm going to start rubbing them right now. And I don't know. I could sit here and talk about a lot of things, but I just have to say my biggest thanks is for Barb Carter, who is just a very true friend, and you're very fortunate to have her in your community. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. So.
Well, thank you, Barb, Bobby, Rodd, Melissa. That's quite an amazing team. I'll tell you, the one thing I learned throughout this process, and I think Rodd did too, is just make sure that Bobby's happy with it. That was the one rule. Now I would like to introduce a friend. This person is on the Tribe Economic and Community Development Committee, and he's a past chairman of the tribe. And when he was chairman of the tribe, he spent a lot of time up here, and he was one of the people that were instrumental in forging the relationship between the tribe and the port. And he's been a champion for this artwork. Les Minthorn. Les, would you like to come up and say a word or two? Now you notice, Les, I said a word or two.
Good morning. Some time ago, when I came over here with my family and other occasions, I always thought this was a great place, but I never had an idea that we would forge a relationship with the port in the manner that it's unfolded. And so we at home have a way of doing things similar to what happens here with the port. We have a vision, we have a mission statement, all of those ingredients from a planning perspective. And so it was a nice follow-up to work with the port that already had those ingredients and how they did things. So from a planning perspective, it was easy to form this relationship in my mind and to move forward with some ideas that, because this is part of our homeland, and I speak very carefully here today because our people are here, they're listening to what we say and do, and we believe that. And so a lot of things went through my mind coming over here today, but I have so many bullet points from the people that are working on this project that most of them are covered. But I think we need to be humble and respectful of our partners and it's like our family, an extended family. Our relationship with the land, the water, the earth, everything has a purpose. And so as we build this relationship with the port and other municipalities in the region, we need to step up on occasion to be mindful and respectful of those partnerships. And so this is a very good example, Skip, of being very patient with the process. And the process is going to lead to improvements of your shoreline, other projects that you're working on that may involve the tribe and may not. But the process is important because, as you talked about, the past, the present, and the future, that'll never go away for us. It's here with us every day. And so as we come here today with all of these blessings that have happened to us in the work environment, we're very lucky considering where we are in 2017. 2008 was not a very good year. And a lot of things have happened to our world that we live in. But the relationship has always been intact. And if I say nothing else, that's kind of what I came here to do, and to provide some encouragement for our young ones that are over there, our singers here, and our tribal leaders. Some things you have to do, And you need to follow through and remember where you came from and to thank your partners just like they're your family. We cannot be disrespectful to each other because of our political alignments. Our tribal government alignment is different from city and county. But our heart's the same. We want to do what's best for our people, what's best for your community that you work in. And so I'm very thankful to be here today in my life. And I could go on forever talking about this, but there are other projects that we need to think about outside of the box and be creative. We're very good at that with no money, but we have a lot of plans on the shelf that could work, but the world doesn't wait for us. The world keeps moving, and you have to be prepared for tomorrow, for next week, for next year, for the next 10 years. And so our planning process at home does that in our vision statement, our mission statement, and our strategic planning. Although we cannot do anything about it on that very day, it's there for our future leaders to research what we were thinking, what our elders were thinking that lived here, came here, and traded. Because when we had a business at one time, I told some people in Oklahoma that we're just reestablishing old trade routes. The Cayuse people went many miles to trade with other communities and traders, tribes, and people who are coming from the east to the west coast. And so we're still doing that here today. We're trading here at the gathering place. Maybe not in the bundle that we have here, but a bundle of words. And our heart is in the middle of that. And so we're very grateful for the cooperation and blessing that we've been able to achieve with the progress of perceptions by your group, our people, all the staff members that you mentioned. And it's not going to stop. It keeps continuing on. Because as I told my daughter, who's having a very difficult time with her life, so no one can mess up your day except yourself. And so as we keep that in mind when we're working together, we just need to continue to stress that to ourselves and stay focused. Always stay focused on your mission statement, your strategic plan. All of those ingredients from a planning perspective are so important. And I wanted to interrupt the program from a printing process because I thought the bullet points were the message. It's easy for you to sit there and the speakers to come up here, but when you leave, what do you remember? I wanted the insert to be the chronological happenings of how this unfolded, because it's such an interesting partnership, and with our change in leadership and your change in leadership, funding cycles changing, we need to have a chronological listing of how this happened. And I thought that staff person that provided, I don't know where she is, but Melissa told me who she was, and I thought that was such an interesting point of this whole day, that the chronological happenings of our interaction is actually a tool. We talk about a toolbox. That's how we get things done. It doesn't happen overnight, but as we work hard, and we sing and pray, like my nephew Armin and the brothers at the drum, we do that all the time, and it helps for our lives and our projects and our children, grandchildren. Wherever we go, we open and close with those kind of words. And so I'm very thankful, Skip, to be here today to rejoin in celebration of this event for the shoreline, and hope that from here on out there'll be more and better projects that we can work on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Les. I appreciate your comments. We're getting right down to the end, so before I say thank you to everybody, I need to talk to you about a couple housekeeping issues. We will be having a ribbon cutting, and then following that we'll have the tribal drummers, and we will have the tribe's youth dance group perform for us. And kind of as they do that, right after the ribbon cutting, then we would invite you to walk around the site. My suggestion is that you kind of come out on the side here, go along the sidewalk, and please go ahead and take a look at the amazing story that this tells, the Gathering Place tells, and listen to the drummers and the tribe's youth dance group. So now, if I would have missed the housekeeping matters, Tana would have been upset with me. So now I can say thank you. And on behalf of the Port Commission, from my heart, this was an amazing event. Words that have been offered up by Les and Armand and others, I think probably sums it up better than any of us at the Port could have done. It is a friendship, and I like how Les said it's, kind of almost like family. So it is, and we've had a great time. And Les, you're correct, this is not the last project that we're going to work on. So I would like to thank all of you from the community and the region for coming here. This was an amazing event. And remember, we'll do the ribbon cutting, and then you're going to hear from the drummers and the dancers. And please walk around. This is going to be really the fun part of it here, because you're done having to hear dull speeches from people like me and Skip. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now I'd like to have Vince Renog from the Historic Downtown Kennewick Partnership come up, and the Downtown Partnership has been an amazing group. They're just right over here in the downtown, and we're trying to build our communities together. So, Vince, would you like to just kind of lead us through the ribbon cutting?
I know it's been said, and I'll say it again. Historic Downtown Kennewick Partnership would like to thank all of you for being here. HDKP also thanks its partners, the City of Kennewick, the Port of Kennewick, as well as the Tri-City Chamber, Visit Tri-Cities. Without these partners, Kennewick would not be as great as it is. What the Port is doing here today not only makes visiting and living here better, but it enhances all of Kennewick. This beautiful piece of art reminds us of the history of this great river. And as partners, it will remind us of our stewardship for this river called the Columbia. This art, along with others on Clover Island, and coming soon to Columbia Gardens, add to the growing inventory that eventually should link up with the Kennewick Avenue art, and will create a unique feature of drivable art gallery. So with all this together, we can make this an amazing place to visit and live. Thank you.
I got to say one other thing. I did forget a part of the program. Tana just came up and reminded me, so I did pretty good. I think I got 90% of it. But Tana would like me to invite up the Port Commission, the Board of Trustees, and Port staff and the contractors, and Raquel and Commander Del Rosa, and we will do the ribbon cutting.
Yeah.